Hi, I'm Alex, this is Pucks and Paperbacks, and today I'm sharing with you all of the books I've read so far this year. I took a couple of months off of YouTube because I had some health issues I was experiencing, and so now I'm back and ready to share with you all of the books I've read. If you're new here, I stopped giving star ratings to books last year, so in all of my videos I just review. I don't give star ratings, so that's what I'll be doing in this video. Let's start with the first book I read in 2023, which was determined by a dollar I found in my book. I got a bunch of library books, and when I opened Kiss and Tell by Adib Khorram, there was $1 in there, which I've never experienced before, and I just didn't know what I wanted to read for my first book of the year, and that was fate. So I read Kiss and Tell and I loved it so much. This is basically Big Time Rush if one of their lead singers was gay. And so we're following a group of boys who are from Vancouver and they have a band together. They were former hockey players, but our main character, Hunter, experienced an injury and he can't play anymore. At such a young age, Hunter is in the spotlight and he's dealing with a lot of microaggressions and a lot of things going on with his management. This was just a perfect book for me. It has hockey, it has a boy band, but also I just love the way it was written and how Hunter does not go unchecked. He is a gay white kid and a lot of his bandmates are people of color, and I just loved how this was done. There are so many times where Hunter feels alone in his experience, where he feels like he's the only one who is dealing with backlash, as there is a breakup he experiences that is totally public, and then there's so much scandal and drama going on, and he's only a teenager, and it just really shows how teenagers, and I would even say like child actors, just like any child who is in the media business is treated. And I would also say as someone of a marginalization, because in this book he is told to be feminine and his management is trying to make him a feminine person and he's just not like that. And then there's a lot of other things that happened, and I really like the way it was written because we are seeing Hunter's perspective, but then you get to see some of like the Twitter feeds and what people are saying about him, and then the emails from his management, and it's really an interesting way to write it. I have read a lot of boy band books and really enjoyed them, but honestly I think this is my favorite one, and I might just be biased because it has hockey in it, but I just think this was so good. It has fake dating and the conversations are just so great. I would highly recommend to add this to your TBR to read it. It was so good. And so I really lucked out getting $1 in my book, but also having a really great first read to the year. There are content warnings for queer and racial microaggressions, racism, the F slur on page, homophobia. There is some sexual content, but this is YA, so it is fade to black. Mention of dieting and calorie counting, underage drinking, a sports injury, and alcoholism. In January, I also participated in a YouTube collab with a bunch of other booktubers. I'll have the video linked up above if you missed it. This is where I read 10 years of the Goodreads Choice Awards in the young adult category, and I believe I read about 6 books for that, and that was through January and February. I will not be mentioning them in this video because that is what the video is for, so if you would like to hear my thoughts on some YA books from the last 10 years, go and watch that video, and if you have some time, go and watch everybody else's. This was such a fun collab, so thank you if you're here from that. In between the reading for that video, I was able to squeeze in a couple others, and so I ended up picking up the audiobook of The Donut Trap by Tieu, and this was really a cool concept. I love to read books about baking, but I also love books that are set where the main character is working at their family's business, and so this is about Jasmine, who is fresh out of college. She is Chinese Cambodian and she's working at her family's donut shop, and this was such a cool concept. I don't think I've ever read a book set in a donut shop before, and I really love the way that this incorporates social media marketing. I have a degree in marketing, I work in publicity, and so this was so much fun to read because I don't read that often. Like, I just don't see it incorporated like this. And I don't want to give anything away, but it is incorporated in a really cool way. This is a very relatable book for anybody who is fresh out of college, and for any 20-something that just doesn't know what to do with their life. Jasmine is in this situation where she's out of college and she just doesn't know what she wants to do, so she's working in her family's business, but she feels so much pressure from her family, and I could relate to a lot of the things that Jasmine was experiencing as somebody who graduated college in 2020 and just forever didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just thought this was super relatable because a lot of 20-somethings go through this where you got a degree in college and now you're out of college and you're like, did I actually want to do that? I want to do something completely different, or I don't even know what I want to do. So I thought she was a really relatable character, and there is some miscommunication, which I hate so much. I just don't like when we have a female protagonist who wants their love interest to read their mind, and then there's just a lot of stress there, and it could have just been resolved by speaking and talking it out. And especially like in an adult book, I know that like adults also can have really bad communication, but I actually understood why this was used, which is really rare. Sometimes I feel like miscommunication is just there for conflict. This made a lot of sense because Jasmine has a lot of issues with her self-worth, and it made a lot of sense to the character. I think that the character development and the character building was really good, and there is a love triangle, which is also frustrating. Jasmine is a frustrating character, but honestly, I think she's super relatable. Characters are able to be messy. Like, I don't think we need to have a cookie cutter perfect character all the time. Reading about the messiness is so relatable, and I love that a lot. The author put a lot of intention into this book, and it made a lot of sense why she did certain things, and I feel like I don't get that a lot in romance. When I'm reading a romance, I'm like, why do I need this here? Like, I don't want the miscommunication. Just tell the person what you're thinking. But I know a lot of people are not like that. Especially as someone with anxiety, I totally understand it. If you want to read a book about donuts, family business, a 20-something out of college who doesn't know what they want to do, and also marketing and social media, I think that this is a really great book. I enjoyed it. Content warnings for ableist language, drug use, depictions of SA, alcohol, alcoholism, and fat phobia. Next, this year I am participating in Buzzwordathon again, so for January, the word was life or death, so I read Death Threat by Vivek, Shraya, and this was so cool. This is about Vivek actually experiencing a death threat as a trans woman. This is, I don't want to say it's a graphic novel. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but it just is told through illustration, and it was so interesting. I don't even think I have much more to say, but I really enjoyed this. This was my first from her, and I'm definitely going to read her full-length novels. I really want to read the subtweet. I just have to find the time. I really enjoyed this because it's witty, but it's also very assertive, where you can see just like the emotion that she goes through, but then she's like, you know what? I don't even know this person, and so I'm not gonna let them affect me. But I think it just shows exactly what happens when someone receives a death threat, especially as a trans person. I just really enjoyed the way that this was done. Then I read We Are Grateful because one of my challenges for this year is to read an Indigenous book a month, and unfortunately that has not really been happening, and I need to get back to it, but I had a lot of stuff going on, so I'm trying to get back to it. So in January, I read the picture book We Are Grateful by Traci Sorell. This is a perfect fall read. It covers the Cherokee people and how they celebrate each season, and it does include Cherokee New Year. And I just love picture books because they teach me a lot. So I really enjoyed this one. Moving over to February, I read Bloom by Kevin Panetta, which was actually my January pick for my book club over on Patreon, which is now paused for the moment because I just had everything going on, and I'm trying to get back to everything super slowly. But this was a reread for me, and I picked it because the sequel is supposed to come out this year. There's no official date, but I feel like it'll probably come in the second half of 2023, so probably during the fall. And this is one of my favorites. This is about a kid out of high school and he wants to pursue music with his band, but he's being forced to work at his family's bakery and he ends up falling in love with a baker that they hire. And this is just so fun and I love it so much. I'm super excited for the sequel, so I wanted to reread it so I'll be prepared. Next, I don't know what I'm doing with this video, but basically I read a bunch of graphic novels that were nominated for the GLAAD Awards and I failed. I just did not. It was way too many books. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how. And I just wasn't able to get most of them. And so if you want, like, do you want to see that video? I would love to know your feedback because I have all these clips that I took and I think that I could structure it in a way that it just is like I tried to read the best graphic novels of 2022 and failed. It's all of the queer graphic novels, and honestly, I found a lot of good ones. The first graphic novel I read was Doughuts and Doom by Balazs Lorinczi, and this is about sapphic witches. Basically, there's a hot-headed witch. She has a horrible day, and she's like, you know what? I just want a chocolate donut. Goes to the donut shop. They don't have it. So they're like, hey, wait a couple minutes. We'll put a new batch in, and she is having the hangry moment where she's like, fuck this. And she destroys the donut shop with her powers. I feel like that is the epitome of being hangry. Oh my god, it was so relatable. I'm like, you know, when you have something in your mind and you're like, you know what, I've had a horrible day, I am going to have this. And then they don't have it and you want to destroy the whole entire place. So then she kind of comes out of this hangry mode and then she's like, oh my god, like I need to apologize to this girl. And ta-da! there we have the plot. Oh my god, it was so cool. I am not one to read books about occults. Like, I'm not somebody that like really seeks out witches and things like that. I feel like when it's in graphic novel form, it's easier for me to understand and like, so I really enjoyed this one. Honestly, I feel like this was so underrated, so I'm glad I did this video because I found a lot of good ones. On audiobook, I read The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert, and I have not read her since I read Little and Lion, and honestly, that made me just want to read all of her books. Like, she is just the best. I love her so much, and this was so well done. I really enjoyed it. It's set in one day in New York. This follows two teens, Marva and Duke, and Marva is an advocate for voter rights and she wants everybody to have a right to. She meets this kid named Duke who learns that he's not at the right place to vote, and so she tries to help him. This was such a funny and cute dynamic because we have Marva who just has always done everything right, but she really wants to help everybody, and so she ends up skipping school to help Duke, and she's kind of panicking because she's like, oh my god, like I've never done this before, I don't want to do this, I don't do this, and it was just so great. Because it's not the typical book that is set in one day and there's insta-love, Marva is like, listen, I just want to get this done for this kid and then go to school. Like, please, why is this taking so long? I just love Brandy Colbert. I just think she's such a great writer. She always knows what she's doing, and it was just a really good read. I was just so happy that I was able to read this because it's been on my TBR for a while, and this really covers voter suppression, and I just thought this was such a great book for any teen who has not voted before because it talks about election day jitters, and I think it being from the perspective of two teenagers is really good and relatable to a lot of kids. And honestly, I wish I had a book like this in high school because when you're just not really sure what to do and you're not really being taught it, it's so important to have books like this. So I'm just so glad this exists. I feel like I say this about every YA book. I'm just so glad that YA has this for teenagers to learn. This also incorporates social media as Marva is behind an Instagram for her cat and she has a viral cat Instagram, and I thought that was so fun. I really enjoyed that. So you have some comic relief and then you have some hard-hitting topics in here as well, but overall it was so good because Brandy Colbert is awesome. I love her so much. I need to read all of her books. Whenever I start to read her books, then I get obsessed and I'm like, okay, I need to just drop everything and read all of her books right now. There are content warnings for voter suppression, racism, microaggressions, death off page, grief, a pet goes missing, anxiety attack on page, and gun violence, which is just briefly mentioned and it's off page. The next graphic novel I read for my GLAAD Awards vlog is Chef's Kiss by Jarrett Melendez, and I didn't really like this that much. I just don't like when queer books have outing in them. Like, I understand because it's an experience that people go through, and I just don't like the way that this was written in. Fresh out of college, Ben Cook is trying to find a job and he doesn't know what he wants to do. This is another book that has a character fresh out of college who has pressure from their parents and is struggling. And this was super relatable in that part where Ben is going to all of these interviews and they're saying, oh, well, you don't have enough experience. And he's like, well, I'm out of college. Like, how am I gonna get experience if you don't hire me? And so one day he's just walking around and he sees that this restaurant is hiring, and so he goes in, and so the whole book is him interviewing for this position. He ends up meeting a hot chef. There's a lot of flirtation going on, a lot of will they, won't they, where Ben is like, I don't even know if this guy is gay, I just think he's cute. You have such a funny situation here where he has to impress the head chef, and the only way that he will pass is if their pet pig says yes and likes the dish, which is hilarious. So that part was funny. Like, I liked that part, but I just could not get past the fact that there were so many instances where there was, I guess, just miscommunication because, like, they go on a date, but then he's like, oh, well, I'm not sure if he even likes me. And I'm like, why are we not communicating here? Like, why, as adults, are we not talking and telling people our feelings? Because it's really confusing here. I'm still kind of confused. I just feel like there wasn't enough depth with the romance. Like, honestly, I don't even think we needed a romance here. I think it would have been fine on its own because you just don't need it. But what I really hated is there is a scene where one of the, I can't remember, I think it's like the chef's friend or something like that, basically asks Ben if he's gay. And it's like, oh, you're gay, right? And I'm just like, I just don't like that, because then he's like, he doesn't say anything. And I'm like, why is this not being challenged at all? Because now it's like, why are we adding this? Like, are we having a gay romance, or are we having a conversation about outing and why it's not safe sometimes to talk about your sexuality and tell people because you're just not sure if this person is the right person to tell? And I just feel like we could have had a better conversation there. So I'm like, is this supposed to be a romance, or is it just kind of like a coming of age about someone out of college who doesn't know what they're doing with their life, but finds out that they're really good at baking and really good at cooking? So I'm not really sure what this was, but I think I would still recommend it for, like, the fun nature of it, and also I really liked the conversation about being someone out of college and pressure, and so if you're 20-something, I recommend this, but I just am not sure what this book was trying to be. Next, I have a reading vlog for this book, which was Dreamer by Akim Aliu, and this is Akim Aliu's first memoir in graphic novel form, and I read it for one of my weekly vlogs. I'll have it up here, and I did enjoy it. I really thought it was great. He is a retired hockey player now, and he did start the Hockey Diversity Alliance, and this book was basically kind of like a promo for that, but it talks about his life leading up to the NHL and how the Hockey Diversity Alliance was created. And honestly, if you want to learn more about hockey, I just love reading about anything hockey. Like, I'll read a nonfiction, I will read contemporary. The hockey romances are hard for me to read sometimes because I cannot turn my hockey brain off, where I'm like, I don't think that would happen. I also don't think that would happen. So I kind of try to avoid them if they're not queer, honestly. So Actually, if you're looking for any hockey recommendations, I'll link my Instagram post below. I just did one for the start of the Stanley Cup Finals where I recommended some of my favorites. Kiss and Tell is included in that. And so I did read Akim Aliu's memoir and I did really enjoy it. So like I said, you can go and watch that vlog if you want to know more. Continuing my Indigenous reading challenge, I read the first book in the JoJo Makoons series by Dawn Quigley. This was a recommendation from Michelle over at Thor Wants Another Letter, and this was so cute. Oh, this was so cute. This is about JoJo, who I believe is in like kindergarten or first grade, and it was so cute. What I loved is that she kind of feels like a Junie B. Jones situation where she is just being a kid and asking questions, but I just really enjoyed how her culture was incorporated, where she is hearing certain words and associates them with her language, and I just thought it was so adorable. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. Next, for that graphic novel vlog, I read one of my favorite graphic novels of the year, and I read it in like a couple hours because I had to return it to the library. I actually went to the library, sat down, and I read it all. And this is Magical Boy #1 by Vincent Khao, or The Khao. And oh my god, this is everything. This is everything to me. This is about a trans boy, and it has kind of like a turning red situation where basically in his culture the girls have these powers, and so he's like, well, I'm not a girl, I'm a guy. And it's a lot of like family drama, but also just a trans boy with magical powers is so fun to me. This was so fun. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. Oh my god, I loved it so much. And last, for February, I read Always the Almost, and I believe I also incorporated it in that vlog. Maybe I didn't review it, but I was like just reading it, and this was so good. This is Edward Underhill's debut novel about a trans boy who is a pianist, and he is determined to win at nationals, and he is up against this kid who is winning every single time, and he has just come out as trans, and so this is his first time presenting as a boy. And oh my god, this was so good. I love a messy trans character, and I loved this so much because it's just messy. He does a lot of shitty things, but trans people aren't perfect, and we're not supposed to be, and having these characters is so amazing to me. I love it, and this is filled with trans joy. This was so good. We do have a romance. There's some art involved where he meets this guy who is new to school, and oh my god, this was just such a great debut novel. I'm so glad I got to read it. It was awesome. Now, entering into March, I read another graphic novel. This wasn't for the vlog, this was just for me. This is Miss Quinces by Kat Faruqi, and this was about a girl named Sue, and she is like a nerd. She loves to wear black, and oh my god, I could relate to that so much because I was such an emo kid as a teenager. Like, I wore the black skinny jeans all year round. Like, in the summer, I was always wearing the black skinny jeans. I was an emo kid so hard. I was in the scene era, and so I really liked this dynamic because basically she turns 15 and she wants to go to this summer camp with her friends, but her mom is like, no, we're going to Honduras to visit your family. And she's like, oh my god, this is actually the worst summer ever, I hate you. And so they go to Honduras, and she finds out that her mom is secretly planning a quinces for her, and she just does not want that at all. I really enjoyed her relationship with her grandmother. That was really special, and I really enjoyed it. It has a complicated mother-daughter relationship, but I really liked the way it was done because she's just learning why her mom wants this for her, and I just thought this was really good. I really enjoyed it. I got it from the library over on Libby, and I'm really glad that my hold came in and I was able to read it because it was really good. I loved it so much. I have been reading all the graphic novels this year, so the next one I read was Measuring Up by Lily Lamotte. This follows 12-year-old Cece who moves from Taiwan to Seattle, and she enters into a cooking competition because she wants to bring her grandmother to Seattle because she misses her, and I believe she wants her to be able to be there for her dad's birthday. And she just learns how to cook, and I love it because she incorporates her family's food and culture into her cooking, and it was really fun. I've been wanting to read this one for a while, so when I saw it on Kindle Unlimited, I got it and read it, and I enjoyed it. If you want to read more books about cooking competitions, especially for middle grade, I really enjoyed this, and how hard it is with culture shock, because she is experiencing a lot of culture shock because there's just a lot of things that are not normal for her and are normal for these kids she befriends, and she becomes embarrassed about herself and her family. She doesn't want to invite any of her friends over because she's embarrassed, and I think that this is really relatable to anybody who has experienced culture shock. If you enjoyed All American Girl by Robin Ha, I think you'll really enjoy this one. The only book in March that I read that isn't a graphic novel is this chapter book, Marya and the Incredible Henna Party by Saadia Faruqi, and this was so cute. Marya is a sassy third grader, and she is determined to get her way. In this book, her birthday's coming up, and when she attends her rich friend's party, she starts to think differently about how her party should go. Basically, she thinks she needs an elaborate party besides just the normal where I think it's like they order pizza and have like a couple friends come over, and she's like, no, I'm gonna tell everybody that my party's gonna be better than this girl's. I say this all the time, but I commend authors who can write children so well. I feel like it's really hard to get into the head of a child as a writer, and this was so perfect because Marya just doesn't realize that her family doesn't have the money to have an elaborate party like her friends. And I just really enjoyed the life lesson that was had here, because she's just learning that you don't need money to be happy, because her friend is upset that her parents aren't even at her party. Like, there's a lot more than just having a bunch of things, and money doesn't buy happiness. And so she ends up being able to have the henna party, but the way to get there is very chaotic, and there's a lot of lessons on the way, but this was really cute, and I definitely want to read more in this series. The last two graphic novels I read for my video that, as I'm thinking about this, maybe I'll just not post it because I'm already telling you all of my thoughts, but do let me know if you still want to see it, because I do have all these clips, but I'm not sure what I'm really gonna do with it, so I would love to hear some of your feedback. I read Galaxy, the Prettiest Star. This is a DC comic about an alien who is also a trans girl, and she's basically like hiding her identity, and I didn't really like this. There is some disability rep, which is great. There is a character who uses a mobility aid and I believe has a prosthetic leg. I just don't like the feeling I had reading this. Basically, I just felt weird that we have a trans woman who is an alien when a lot of the other characters are just humans. And I'm like, why is the trans woman an alien? There is a lot of conversation when it comes to trans characters, and especially us being depicted as creatures and monsters and things like that. Unless it's a situation where it's like hell follows with us, I like that, but this was just weird to me. I was like, why do we have the trans woman being an alien? It just kind of feels weird to me. I don't know. I just got a bad vibe from this because of that. I just couldn't get that out of my head. Or I was like, well, why can't she just be a human with powers or something like that? Now, I'm a Marvel guy. I don't really care about DC, if I'm being honest. So I don't really know much about it, but I just still got the ick from that where I was like, why is a trans woman an alien? That's just not what I'm looking for. I would rather read about a human trans woman than read about an alien. But honestly, that could just be me because, like I said, I don't really like to read about occults. I don't care about it at all. You really have to get me. The only time was Blackwater, which I do have a reading vlog for. I'll try and link it down below. But yeah, not the vibe. But what is the vibe is Heartstopper Volume 4, which was the final book I read for this vlog, and I loved it. I really did. Heartstopper's the best, but honestly, this one was so good. I do want to share the content warnings for Heartstopper Volume 4 though, which is biphobia, mental illness, eating disorder, homophobia, self-harm, and OCD. The first book I read in April was a part of the Trans Rights Readathon, which I will have a reading vlog up next week for. I'm just finishing the editing and all of that. And this is Camp Quilt Bag by AJ Sass and Nicole Melleby, and I loved this. It's one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This exceeded my expectations. This follows two kids, Abigail and Kai. Kai uses neo pronouns, em, airs, and I just love the way neo pronouns were normalized in this book. They were so normalized, and I talk about it more in my vlog, so I'm not going to spoil. I just thought this was so great because it's set at a queer camp. Abigail, she thinks that she likes girls, but she's not sure. She goes to a Catholic school and knows that all of her friends will make fun of her because she admitted to having a crush on Stacy's mom. And all of her friends made fun of her, so she just doesn't feel like she's a part of the community. She doesn't know everything. And this was such an accepting, welcoming book. Because AJ Sass is Jewish, there is some Jewish representation. There is first crushes and just wholesome camp vibes. What I loved is there's an activity for everybody. There's like friendship bracelet making, there's roller derby, there's everything. There's even like queer trivia. Oh my god, it was so fun. Highly recommend. And I have a giveaway on my Instagram right now for the paperback copy. If you're in the US or Canada, go over there. I'll link it down below. If you go over to my Instagram and follow the rules and leave a comment, I will randomize the winner. You may be the winner of a shiny new paperback copy of Camp Quilt Bag. Next, I read another graphic novel. Oh my god, who am I? I've read all the graphic novels and I'm just realizing today. This is Twins by Varian Johnson and illustrations by Shannon Wright. I really love this. This is following two twin sisters as they start middle school, and the one sister just wants to be on her own and try to find herself, and the other is petrified and is like, no, please don't leave me. And they end up getting into a fight. And I just loved this so much. Oh my god, this was so great. And I don't even want to say more because like I don't want to spoil that much, even though I did kind of spoil a little bit in this video where I'm just telling you all of my thoughts. I just really enjoyed this, and I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. I just really enjoyed the dynamics, the way it was written. I just don't read a lot of books about twins. On my Instagram, I recently reviewed Junior High by Tegan and Sarah, which I'll have in my June wrap up, and I just said I don't read a lot of books about twins, and it's ironic that I read this and then I read Junior High because the twin dynamic is such a different perspective. So I'm really glad I was able to read this one. I really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend to pick it up. It was good. And then I received a copy of Dotson by Grayson Lee White, which I recently talked about in my book haul. And this is his first memoir, and it is basically about him at 12 years old. And I actually love the author's note because he said, I want to write fantasy stories. I don't want to write about being trans. Like, that is not me. And to be able to know that at 12 years old, I commend him for that. And basically, this is his memoir about learning he was trans. And I love this because it has so much trans joy. Honestly, if you're just looking for a book about trans joy, I recommend this one because it just talks about how he felt coming out and a lot of the things that adults said to him. And I feel like it's just like the subtle dysphoria that you're feeling, and it was super relatable and I enjoyed it. But I am excited to read some of his fantasy stories if they do get published because this was a good read. It has accepting family and it was just a really wholesome read. It's definitely something that I needed to read at the moment. And then I picked up from the library the Heartstopper yearbook, and honestly, I'm just gonna be candid with you and say I did list that as read on Storygraph, but honestly, I just like flipped through it. I thought it was cool because it just shows the vision that Alice had for each comic and how it came together, which I thought was really interesting. So I did enjoy it, but I did give it back to the library because I was kind of done with it in the middle of the book. I was like, okay, I feel like I understand most of this, so I did make it read because I did read it. And finally, for May, I read one book, which is Remember Me by Mary Higgins Clark for my video where I read the most popular book from the year I was born. I'll link that down below and you can hear all my thoughts there. I actually enjoyed this one. It was fine. It has a lot of heavy content, but for the most part it was fine. And then I have a Patreon video where I actually watch the movie and I review it, and then I do a couple other things in that video. And that is it for the recent reads. Oh my god, that was a lot of books. I want to know what the best book you read so far this year was, and if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. And please let me know your thoughts about the Glad Awards video, what you want to see, if you want to see it, if I should just scrap it. I would love to know all of your thoughts. That's it for me today. Thanks again for watching and for supporting as always. And if you're new here, feel free to hit subscribe to hear all of my thoughts about queer and trans books, because I will have a June wrap up coming up. This was the recent reads I needed to do because I just haven't posted any wrap ups, but we will be back to business in June and July and moving forward, hopefully. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.